Oh, look at that. Holy crap. We are live. Welcome.
That's all
Welcome
he's looking
to
for.
what Talking Crit with myself, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. My once a week work spouse, Steve Wright, my I don't know, left. I have no clue. Bad Mike Battalato, and with us today, from the other side of the world, is none other than Darcy Perry. Probably, I don't know a lot of sculptors of gaming material, but of those few that I do, I think Darcy is the most skilled. Uh, and I'm not just saying that because he did a 10 core figure. I'm saying that because the 10 core figure is amazing looking, so therefore I can say that. So,
You're about to go
Well,
digital.
oh my, yeah, you're a bad influence, man. I I I have not stepped into that world of 3D printing yet, and I've been tempted to, and I may have to at some point. But now,
Well, it doesn't even matter if you don't. Someone you know will have. So if there's someone at your gaming table who's got a 3D printer or someone in your forum, I'm sure they'll be printing off a Tenkar just so that they can have you under thumb, at home.
oh, 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 I don't know about that, but okay. Under thumb, you can't have 10 car under thumb. I have
I'm sorry,
minions.
just
I have
so we can
minions. Damn it, my minions will protect me. But now, Mike, you did not you didn't travel the country, but you did. You traveled the world of cheeseburgers
no,
and bad
I
food.
went last week. If you paid attention last week, I was in the Western United States in Arizona. I went after Reapercon, which by the way, thumbs up, 10 out of 10. I mean, if you're in the area, DFW area, Labor Day next year, Reapercon, I was extremely impressed. It was very well run. It almost matches Alex's con game hole for being well run. It was amazing, and
Really?
it was really fun. We had a great time there. More and more people are coming every year, and they have a great venue, which is the Denton Convention Center. So we had a blast. So Zach and I drove back with some computers that he had bought out of Doug's collection, and best way to transport them is a car because you don't want to fly or ship them; they're just going to break anyway. And the funniest part is, we got back. He had a TRS 80, original TSR 80. And Doug had three of them. He took the one that was unboxed. There's two still brand new in the box that we're going to sell to another gentleman. Um, he plugged it in. It worked. Everything was great. Next day he came. He turned it on. All the smoke started coming out.
Oh, nice.
And it's might be fried. So he's going to try to have to work on it, but that kind of sucks. So he had it for one day. Anyway, so we went to Arizona, which is just basically you just go west from Texas. I mean, you just straight line, boom. And it was great. Had a great time there. Ate due to my coffee donations, and I want to thank again Win Marsh, Heather Gardner, Ty Beard, Steve Getty, Noah Green, Dave Bartholomew, Tom Wilson, John Lyle, and the three who I more than anybody, Gary Oliver, who donated the most money, and then Sean Pointer and Joe Dameron, who entered the $5 per month program. You guys don't have to do that. I mean, if you want to keep giving me $5 a month, you can. But you two got knuckleheads don't have to. But I'll continue. If I still get money, I'm going to continue to comment on food I get. So there will be further food broadcasts. But if you saw the videos last week, we went to three places on the road on the old Route 66 with the three green chili cheeseburger places, and that's a big thing in New Mexico. It's kind of like chicken fried steak in Texas or pork loin sandwiches in Iowa or whatever they do in New York. Eric, I don't know what's the big.
It's probably Chinese food. I mean, I swear to God, it's New York.
Chinese food in New York, but that's just their specialty. So they have this map. It has all these places. They all serve a green chili cheeseburger. And let me tell you, I was impressed. The worst one I had, which I say worst, it's just not as tasty as the other two, was better than 90% of the hamburgers I get in Texas anyway. And then the other two were exceptional. And one of them was a patty melt on rye bread with green chilies, and it was the best. And it was so good that when I drove back with my wife, because my wife flew in to town and we drove back, we stopped there again. It was so good. I had to have her have a bite of it because I couldn't even tell her how great it was. And she was blown away too. So it was like it was one of those cool, just little diner on the side of the road, hole in
Wow.
the walls. It was great. And so yeah, we had a blast. That was fun. You know, the great thing about gaming and this life we have here is that you make friends all over the country, right? And so I always tell my wife my favorite thing to do would be to get an RV someday and just travel around to all the people we know. You know, I'll visit you up in the Poconos one weekend and go visit Tom Wilson up in New Hampshire and then head over to Madison. I mean, because you get to know so many people going to conventions and doing stuff. And so it was great to go out there to Arizona and see Zach in his home territory. I had never been to see Zach. We calculated that Zach has been to my house 40 times, and I had been zero. I've been zero to Arizona because I've known him for over 10 years now. So I finally got to go see Zach's place, and I was blown away because he manages an apartment complex. One apartment he rents out. That's just his office. So it's a two-bedroom apartment with a bathroom and kitchen. And it's just filled with games and stuff. And if you saw last week, you saw all the stuff he had in his wall, and that's how much stuff he just had everywhere. He just had that. It was great. I mean, there's just stuff. I'm just going, okay, here's a chainmail signed by Jeff Perrin. Here's some old fantasy trip stuff. I mean, just all kinds of stuff there. So it was fun to go see somebody else's gigantic. Jack's been holding out on us a little bit. He has a pretty impressive collection. He does not brag very much, but he has a lot of stuff, and so it was really fun to see his collection of stuff.
Nice.
Anyway, I'll give a shout out to Jerry there because he says he wanted to say hi. So
before you leave,
Jerry, how's it going?
So anyway, I'm wrapping that up because we've got Darcy on right now. The seasons are reversed because he's on the other side of the world. So, like, you know, if you drop a pencil through, you poke through, okay, he's on the other side of the globe. So he just told us it's spring there. It looks great. It looks awesome. And we're going to get to Mr. Perry here because he's stopped down all over the other side of the world. And also, by the way, he was in one of our most memorable YouTube broadcasts ever. Do you remember this, Eric?
Which part?
Is this the one where he came on and then he left and came back, or am I thinking of somebody else? That was Darcy.
I think you clocked in about 2.5 hours, but I was probably only there for a couple of them.
No, he came back. So he came.
So long you came back.
We talked for a while. He left, and then we were still talking. About 2 hours later, he got back from dinner and he jumped back in. And we talked for like an hour and a half. I mean, that thing was like 4 hours long. I swear it was forever. That was so much fun. We had a blast that night. So welcome, Darcy. It's great to see you again, man.
Well, that's the other thing. I suppose it's dinner for you. It's lunch for me. So yeah, I'm speaking from your future. I'm actually at work. I work out teaching carpentry out here in Wintec. So if you look around the place, there's like construction and stuff. But yeah, it's good. Okay. So I thought I'd take my lunch break and just check in with you guys and find out what you're having for dinner.
Wow. I had a beautiful chicken and rice that my wife made, and I picked something for yesterday. I've got a soft taco from Taco Casa. So, that was my dinner. What'd you get, Eric? Anything exciting?
Actually, I hate to admit it, but like I had a late lunch, but my dinner is going to be probably after this. And
okay, here's my dessert. Right, I got my dessert right here too.
Whatever I can nuke in the freezer, but my dinner's going to be. I got to see what I got available.
Well, maybe we won't go so long, so it's not like a breakfast.
Well, there you go. There you go.
So yeah, I'm here just to say hi from New Zealand. Obviously, kia ora. It's beautiful down here. It's spring, and we're enjoying, the changing weather. It was raining yesterday. It's sunny today. And I've got a Kickstarter going, and I know, Eric, you've always been a fan of Kickstarters.
Way too big a fan. I no longer announce how many I've backed over the years because I get in trouble, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I remember when I first met you, you were known for like holding people accountable for those longer than usual delivery times on Kickstarter.
Oh, he still does. He just had a broadcast about Far West. another Far West update.
Far West will be 11 years late this December.
Wow.
But it's promising within the next month or so, we should actually have the PDF. Don't expect physical copies, but Now,
Yeah,
So,
sure.
so with PDFs, I'm sort of in the same boat. I remember when MP3s came out, that changed the music industry, and PDFs really revolutionized how, especially when you started to get Kindle, etc.
Yep.
Different ways that you were digitally reading instead of going and buying a book, because you still tend to buy books.
Yeah.
Being a reader or reading more digitally doesn't mean you read less.
And it's true though.
So there's that sense that I'm entering that stage with my miniatures now. So they're being scanned digitally by Jeremy Larson at Ill-Gotten Games. So they're in Washington, Bellingham, Washington, and they're scanning every miniature with jewelry scanning technology. And it's just amazing what they get. They get an STL that looks just like the miniature I sculpted by hand. And it's the Kickstarter. You bring it up there.
Your miniatures they're very special because you happen to usually capture expressions and details that others would not. Like your vision is a little bit off kilter. Now it might be because you're a Kiwi. I don't know. Might be that New Zealand in you, but everything is I find is slightly whimsical that you've produced. If you look for it, you can find something. Uh, as a collector, as a painter, which I don't paint. Okay, it isn't happening. But I own a lot of minis that are unpainted, and yours are some of the nicest looking ones out there because they have personality. But by the way, whoever does your painting of your samples is spot on. Holy
Okay, so
shit, amazing.
So that there's the free STL download. So if you do have a 3D printer and you want to see what they look like in your hand, you can download that STL from the campaign page for free.
Oh nice.
And that Rhino Man, I painted that one. So you can see at the top there's a metal version of the miniature.
Right.
And there are hundreds of those around the world. And next to that is a 3D printed version of the same miniature.
Wow.
So
okay.
It's exciting technology. It changes a lot of things. There's no shipping costs. There's no production costs. The production costs, of course, is making the STLs. But in a world full of STLs right now, these ones are some of the few that have come from hand sculpted miniatures. A lot of the STLs have been made in ZBrush and other digital, software.
Okay.
And
So
the difference is
they were never physically. All right. They only exist in the digital world initially. Okay.
Yeah, so they only exist in the digital world until they're printed, but also you have to be a really good digital sculptor to capture that sort of old traditional sort of look and feel of miniatures. And I know because I was trying. I was having a go with ZBrush, and I was doing well with sort of duck marine, space marine type stuff, and things that were less organic. But making things look organic and giving them the gravity and weight that a miniature has just by being sculpted with putty is difficult. But yeah, there's a full range. Obviously, ducks were a big hit through the Kickstarters, so they're back. Also, the turtles, duck troll.
Right.
And there's you there, Tenkar.
Yes, under Warriors, upper right, folks. There you go. Right by the middle of the page. That is an amazingly detailed miniature, but they all are. They all capture something that's a little in some way. It reminds me of some of the earlier Games Workshop minis that always has a little bit extra going to whatever you saw. There was a little action. There was a little extra piece, a little extra detail, like hold the flagging up, small cask. These are details.
So that Citadel Miniatures early Games Workshop look, but also the best compliment I've ever had was my miniatures look like Josh Kirby artwork.
Oh,
and I'm a big Discworld fan, and of course most of the books had Josh Kirby artwork on it, when they came out. It has that fantastical, comical, whimsical. There's there's lots of character.
Yes, I see.
And characters easy to get when you're sculpting by hand. I'll tell you now.
Well, you even got Ken St. Andre as a tribute, as a troll, which is perfect for Ken. I think you quote his face pretty well there too.
So that's I think I sculpted that around 5 years ago. So I mean I've been going 5-6 years sculpting, and that was my first large miniature, and that miniature was after talking to Ken. I said, Ken, I've got a friend here in New Zealand who plays Tunnels and Trolls. What would a troll look like? I'd like to sculpt a troll for him. And Ken sent me 4 photos, 2 from the Snow White and the Huntsman. I think that's the name of the movie. So the troll's very organic, has lots of rocks and trees and earthy look. And 2 pictures of his face. So I did a tribute to Ken. Afterwards, he told me that wasn't quite like what a troll looked like. And I said, well, I'm trying to capture you, Ken. And he says, I'm more handsome than that. Yeah. It's been So all of this will be digitally available. So you download the STLs, so you can print them on your home 3D printer, or someone in your game group can. There's also a license there, so if you're in the business of selling 3D prints, you can buy the license here, and that allows you to, for your lifetime, or however many 3D printers you go through, you can print the miniatures and sell them yourself through your store.
So now, Darcy, Paul has a question. He wants to know, what 3D printer do you use? Is it filament or resin?
Okay, so resin's the one for this. I've actually got some, because I've been backing Kickstarters my friends run for the last few years. Printable Scenery here in New Zealand was the first seller of STLs for rain online. They're the biggest. Printable Scenery are huge. They just ran a Kickstarter actually called Country and King, and it was a whole lot of terrain for your Mordheim games or World War II games, or Saga games. That sort of that idea of having terrain on the tabletop for tabletop gaming.
Right.
But yeah, so I've been backing those, but I don't own a 3D printer. And I think my first project would be a filament, so I could print that. But these all print based on resin. And I have friends with resin printers, so I haven't picked up a new skill yet. And actually, my wife's a bit concerned if I got a resin printer, I might have even more miniatures around the house.
Yeah, that could be a problem. I mean, my problem is I have nowhere to put a 3D printer. And so when I find a place, it's going to probably be like in the living room, which is, I don't think that's the ideal spot to put up a 3D printer, but it's going to be somewhere.
One of the great things now is, even if you've found a Hero Forge miniature you like, any EL that you like, it's not difficult to find someone local who will print it for you. So, even if you're thinking about finding those miniatures you want and you haven't got a printer, you can find print shops. And the people who are backing the higher tier on this are the ones that are doing that as a business. So they've got their hobby business. So they're printing out their own stuff for their own games. And on the side, they're also printing out miniatures for other people. Some of them are painting them too, which is, I do a lot of painting, and it's quite demanding.
Oh, that I'm sure. Now, I see you call it a winged worm, basically the dragon. That I had not seen before. I had not seen that one before. Most of your stuff I recognize from past Kickstarters, probably because I backed them. This one escaped me. Is this a new piece, or did I miss?
That's from the third Kickstarter. So that's after Ken. I did like to include a large miniature in the Kickstarters as going, I was more comfortable with doing a larger piece. The only thing with a larger piece is if it's got feathers, there's going to be a lot of feathers. If it's got scales, there's going to be a lot of scales. So very much an old school looking dragon. I was really inspired by the Citadel miniatures back from the 80s and 90s on this one. And that dragon in metal is quite heavy. I even put out a resin version just so that you can get a fact that you've got quite a heavy piece on the table. But of course, with 3D printing, it doesn't even have to be in 7 bits. It can be, but you can do it as one piece if you want. So yeah, it's not new, but for some people, especially if they've backed one Kickstarter, they'll see things they may have missed from other Kickstarters.
No,
that's for the returning backers who have 3D printers or know someone with one. There are new backers as well who are completely, they've never seen my miniatures before, and now they've got an opportunity to get them without having to wait 3 weeks for them to arrive by post.
That is a good point too. Although it was amazing to watch. I get stuff from New Zealand and Finland often quicker than I get stuff from Canada or the United States. I don't know why.
Canada can be hard. You can wait a couple of months.
Yeah.
From New Zealand to Canada. What shocked me recently was it took 3 weeks to get a package from here in Hamilton, Waikato, Kirikiriroa, New Zealand, Aotearoa, all the way to Bellingham, Washington State, USA. That was 3 weeks, 1 day.
Wow.
And that was amazing because it actually did hit America after the first week. But it took a couple of weeks to get from LA to Bellingham. And I think we've got some congestion.
That's about right.
Yeah,
it's honestly that's about right, really.
Yeah, somebody walked it, from
It was quicker to get something from Texas to Bellingham, but even then it was 3 days later than they expected. So yeah, there's congestion going on around the world at the moment. Hey, look, it says Talking Crit Live.
Yes.
If you've just tuned in, you're on Talking Crit Live. You've of course got a special guest all the way from the other side of the world. That's why.
Thanks for the reset. That's professional. See, he's professional. That's what they do. Reset. They reset.
Yeah,
people that pop in halfway through. We never reset. Eric and I forget to reset all the time. That's perfect.
Reset. I never even say subscribe and like, let alone.
We should. We probably need to do that more often.
But.
You've got miniatures there that go all the way through, and of course some of these are from the most recent, the Duck Quest range that came, and they were inspired by HeroQuest, so a duck version of HeroQuest. And then you've got Quack Keep, that's of course a Kickstarter with Janelle Jaquays.
Yeah, those were great. We saw those last time you showed it. Those were amazing. Yeah, those were great.
And then you've got an example of what a resin print might look like, and the size. Interestingly enough, the size is resizable with your 3D printer. So
I never even thought about that.
If you want things to be slightly smaller or slightly larger, you just change the scale. It's that easy.
I never even thought of that.
Well, it's important for those people who have maybe an army and they want all their ducks to be the same size.
Get all your ducks in a row. Yeah, people have. I have heard what's with the. I've actually heard people who've been like, "Oh, it's got ducks. I refuse to even look at it."
I've had the opposite effect, and it's been great. I think also because over the years I've had support. Most of the solid supporters have come from people who've gone, "Wow, you've got ducks, that's awesome." And I've even inspired a guy in Sweden, although he was into RuneQuest. If you're into RuneQuest, you're used to ducks, and that's where Janelle Jaquays came in. And then there's also Draka och Demona, which I'm mispronouncing, but basically Demons and Dragons, and that's the Swedish version of Dungeons and Dragons. But it's based off around RuneQuest, so it's been around 40 years.
I covered the Kickstarter, and then I had people go, "Oh man, It's got fucking ducks. I can't do it, man. I can't
Yeah.
do it.
Well, I tell you
What's wrong
what,
with
Dragonbane's doing very well. If
Yeah.
you look at Dragonbane Kickstarter, they're doing very well. So I don't think ducks are turning people off there. The art is amazing.
Very few. I mean, I'm backing that one. I mean, it looks very interesting.
Yeah, I'm backing it, and purely for the reason that, about 5 years ago when I sculpted my first duck, it was Johann's artwork that helped inspire that duck. I went, oh, Duck Knight, that looks awesome. I'll sculpt a Duck Knight. And then I sort of delved into the history of RuneQuest with ducks. And then I sculpted Gendra Quack for Janelle. And yeah, it was there's a huge supporter base, support base for duck miniatures, duck anything. People like duck tails, and they like Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, and
Howard
the Duck.
And there was, Morkborg. There was even a Duckborg. I didn't find this out until after I written Duckborg, but there was a Duckborg.
Oh my god, I had no clue.
Nope, beautiful.
You should have a look. It's quite good.
Duckborg, I love it.
Yeah, instead of Duckberg, obviously, or Morkborg, they sort of mix the two. But there's that element there of like, people get really serious about their elves or their dwarves or their fairies, or whether a bugbear should be bulky or sneaky, or all of these things that people get really particular about. But if you've got ducks in your game, you're going to sit down at a table with people who are really just there to have fun.
I mean, honest to God, when I ran RuneQuest 2nd Edition, I guess back in my college days, my group refused to run with any ducks in the party. They were like, it's stupid, I can't do it.
Yeah.
They didn't.
No, it's too silly for a game about elves and dwarves and gnomes and halflings.
Yes.
That's too silly. Elves,
and goat people,
ducks, come on.
And cow people, and
yeah.
Sorry, minotaurs. What is a minotaur? It's a cow and a man mixed together.
Yeah, well, centaurs. There's one in the Rogues Gallery, right? One of the PCs was reincarnated as a centaur. That's okay, but you can't play an intelligent duck.
Yeah, and I suppose maybe that whole thing of, because Carl Barks did a lot of the drawing for Disney with all the Huey, Dewey, and Louie, etc. Maybe it's that element. But nowadays, and anthropomorphic is huge, and you have games that are all about animals that run around, kind of like Redwall, or those sort of stories, or C.S. Lewis and Narnia. So it's always been there, and now I suppose it's popular again.
Yeah,
but those four turtles that are the key ones on the banner there. Those four turtles were totally my tribute to the Ninja Turtles. I just wanted a more heavy metal version.
Oh, that is cool. That is nice. And at least you don't call them Michelangelo. And that's the only name I remember from the damn team.
Yeah, so these ones are like Hendrix and Kurt and Dimebag Daryl. Dimebag.
Oh, well, you see, that works.
Ingvi, as an Ingvi, the Shredder. So they're all heavy metal guitarists.
Now, Bob, when you say, what would Howard say? Are you saying Howard the Duck, or are we talking Conan's Howard?
No, I think you can merge the two. I've got a character called Kodak down there, and Kodak is Conan.
Okay.
Created a Cohen, like Cohen as in Cohen, but Cohen like a rooster or chicken version.
Right.
I've got a foul bear. Yeah.
Didn't Terry Pratchett give us Cohen the Barbarian?
He did.
Yes.
And I read it as Cohen, but it took me a little while to work out it's Cohen because Cohen. It's Cohen.
I guess I Conanized the name to make it sound more like Conan. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So-
and that's how those puns work as well. The puns come quite easily once you get owlbear, and you change it to foul bear, and you get various like Quacky Chan instead of Jackie Chan. I didn't do a Norris, a Duck Norris. That would have been great.
Oh, that would have been pretty cool. Yes.
But it's after a while you start to go, okay, I've done a lot of quacks and a lot of ducks, and you start to branch out. There are definitely times when you go, okay, this is enough ducks. But I'm still doing it. I've sculpted a new range with some squirrels and crow and what else is in there? I've got a turtle, a more traditional looking turtle, not a snapping turtle.
Oh, okay.
A Karateka kid turtle. So that, yeah, I still have fun sculpting, and I think what this allows me to do is sculpt with putty, which I really enjoy, and then have someone scan it. And that's where Jeremy at Hill Golden Games is doing a great job. He's capturing everything that I've made physically and turning it into digital, so anyone with a 3D printer can print their own, which is it's pretty amazing tech, really. I mean, the technology's been getting there and getting better, but it's only till the last few years it's been getting affordable.
Right.
So yeah, it's still quite expensive. I'm not in the I won't be buying a scanner anytime soon, but you'll see people scanning their own face and putting their head on wargame miniatures for Space Marines or whatever. So it is becoming more accessible to people in the hobby.
I had no idea you could even do that. That makes sense.
No.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing you want to do if you're really attached to your squad. Make sure that you're at the helm on the table. Mini me, literally mini me. But
By the way, I remember the story. I remember the story you guys were talking that I talked about this before about how my college had a RuneQuest versus D&D battle going on in the break room. I've told that story many times. Like you were either a RuneQuest guy, you're a D&D guy. So one of the pieces of propaganda the D&D guys would get to try to get you away from the RuneQuest guys was that those guys are so dumb. They play ducks. Their characters are ducks sometimes. Isn't that stupid? That's really dumb. I'd be like, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me either way because I was thinking in the back of my head, okay, you could be a dwarf, an elf. I mean, it's just a fantasy race, but that just reminded me of that story. That was one of their.
You don't have to back for the ducks. There's a Dungeon Delvers option. You can just get the regular fantasy fare. So you get your elves, your dwarfs, your wizards. There's a Tom Cleese wizard there. There's John Cleese. I call him Jim, but you'll remember him as Tim from the Holy Grail. No, from the Holy Grail. Yeah. So there are characters in there that are from pop culture and through the years, different people who've been gaming, and their characters. It's just such an enjoyable pastime, sculpting and painting. But as you said, Eric, not everyone paints. But yeah, I remember collecting Smurfs.
God bless you. I mean,
and that's what I wanted for this. I wanted each mini to have its own character. And I think with digital sculpting, sometimes it's too easy to make everything look perfect because you just hit a button and you've got a mirror function. So you can make, it saves time, but your faces end up being symmetrical and kind of unnatural.
Bob says that North Texas RPG needs a devil mini with Mike's face.
I'm thumbs up, 110%. Yes, I agree with everything this genius has just said. Yes, that would be wonderful. I don't know how it wouldn't look like my face. It would look like a generic old fat white guy with a goatee and a mustache. We all look alike, man. You start getting about age 50, y'all start looking alike. So it would be generic.
Yeah, I thought you were describing me then.
Yeah.
That could be all of us right here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Mike, Eric, I I'm not going to talk forever on this. I just wanted to say hi and say, hey, Eric, you're going to be in the digital realm in a few weeks, because this Kickstarter only goes for another week. And then we're about delivering the rewards, and the rewards will come out quicker because they're not going to be shipped. They're going to be emailed or a link to a download.
Right.
So, that really that's great, and that's really the future of Kickstarters, I think, because that eliminates all the issues you have with shipping. That's genius, to do that.
Well,
I
even
think
with print,
that's going to help
people
a
are
lot.
offering the print and they're offering the PDF, right? So you can actually start gaming before the physical copy arrives.
Oh yeah.
If you want the physical copy, a lot of people do. Like Dragonbane, I'm definitely getting the box set. How could you not? look at how beautiful it is, and that price point's just ridiculous. I don't know too many games that come out that have that much in the box. For that,
games that have a box, period. Especially on Kickstarter, you don't find too many box games these days for RPGs. Yeah. They tend to avoid it. Not everybody's a Zach Glazer willing to take that leap and work on a margin of next to nothing to get that stuff in your hands.
I just had Trudvang arrive, Trudvang or however that's Trudvang, and it's a big box. It's by the same guys, Free League,
right?
I've got a few of their games. I was looking and finding out that I've been collecting their games for a while. So Scandinavia is big on role playing at the moment, and they're putting out beautiful products. So yeah, Dragonbane. What's one more? But hopefully there's some Dragonbane players out there that might want a duck, and if they want a duck miniature, there's only a few places to go, and on one of them, if I can make it easier for them to get it close to them, then this Kickstarter's done its job. We've got 10 backers at that tier at the moment, so they've signed on to be able to print these miniatures for life, so they can sell the miniatures to their local group or online to anyone really.
Actually, I think you have 11 backers at that tier.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well I'm not up with the play then.
Pick up a few. There you go.
Hey, I've been working for the last few hours, so
it's a beautiful thing. And what I find very interesting looking at your backers is your backers are very well spread out. It isn't like there's one level where everybody said, I need that. Or it's a sweet point. Everybody found their own sweet point, and that's
like
cool.
You said, people are like, I just want ducks, and some people are like, I'm not having no ducks. But I have to. Ducks is my point of difference, and I suppose if you've got something that's unique, that's the thing. But I definitely have a soft spot for my dungeon delvers. They started the whole journey. In fact, if we do really well, I'll release the first miniatures I ever sculpted. Which to me look kind of funky, but a lot of people like them. so that would be quite a thing to have everything I've ever sculpted digitally.
That's cool.
Because it's essentially just enabling it to be on more gaming tables and for more people to enjoy them. And that's the whole point of I started sculpting in the first place, so that people could enjoy something. I could give something back to the hobby that for 30 years or more I've been painting other people's miniatures and really loving gaming and collecting miniatures, and to be able to do that for others is great. It's been quite humbling actually to have people like yourself go, hey, you can sculpt my miniature, and then you like it, which is great.
Dude, I was so flattered. I mean, I at the time I was actually in a face-to-face group out in Long Island. We played twice a month, and I was like, I have a miniature now I can bring to the table that isn't just like
generic,
unpainted.
Yeah.
I was like, this actually works, and honestly, most of the characters that I tend to play when I get a chance to play as a player tend to be dwarves, tend to be cleric fighters or clerics or something along that line. And that miniature fit the bill perfectly. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah.
It's like Buffalo Rick was a miniature for Rick Loomis. And often I'll ask what you'd like. Like with you, Rick, you said, well, he needs a tank card and he needs this, and you had a picture, you had some artwork It's
Mhm.
kind of like, and Eric had an idea of what his dwarf looked like, so I just kind of went with that, and you get Tenkar.
Yes.
And with Rick Loomis, he gave me an idea of what he wanted his wizard to have. Had to have the cat, his pet cat, and had to have a scimitar, but shaped like he had a tree out the back. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a beloved tree, and he had his cup. Now his cup was important because his cup was his Mountain Dew cup, because he loved to have his Mountain Dew. And Rick Loomis had been, at conventions since before D&D. He was selling games. Buffalo, Flying Buffalo predates TSR. So Rick Loomis is a huge part of this hobby, and of course he is the man who said, "Hey Ken, I'll put your game out." So that Tunnels and Trolls came out 1975, and the big legacy, Rick Loomis, and he's passed now. He's gone from us, but I remember his comment on the miniature, and it had I put buffalo horns on his hat, and he was like, "I'm not sure. I wasn't sure about the buffalo horns, but they've kind of grown on me." But yeah, there's a bit of character in every miniature, and I enjoy doing that. I enjoy making something that's not out there, or is different to stuff that's out there, or represents something that somebody already has a character, and I represent that character for them so they can put it on the table. It's quite special.
Oh, definitely. You do such a great job with it too. And climbing that mountain. What's ironic, Eric, is that everyone sees you as a paladin. No, they don't.
I see. He's still my bartender. That's all. That's
there you go. Yeah. How many bartenders are going to be lawful good, right?
Yeah,
you got to be able to keep some secrets. You got to be able to take your favorite drunk and roll them in the back of the bar and let them sleep it off. See, lawful, neutral good. All right, I'll accept that. Then he can't be a paladin.
Now I've had a meeting catch up come up. I've got to do a 1:00 Zoom call, which is about 15 minutes from now, and I had lunch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say kakite, goodbye. I'm going to grab something to eat and get to my next meeting. Look, guys, thanks so much for having me on your show again.
It's great to see you as always, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Looks like you're already funded on this one, so you got 8 more days to get some more money there. So yeah, if you're interested in minis, definitely back this one. You're going to get some great smoke.
I mean, yeah, it's great to be funded, but it's even better to know that there's like 50 odd people that are there that are going to get something they can use in their gaming. So yeah, even if you feel like going and backing for a US dollar, I think that's it's like 60 cents US at the moment to give me a dollar US.
It's awesome.
It would be too much. Yeah, a Kiwi dollar, 60 cents US, and you can be part of it. You can be part of it, or you can just go to the website and download the free STL. I got no problem with that. I put it up there so that everyone could have a good idea of what the quality was like. And I've had such good response on that. The feedback's been awesome. So once again, big shout out to Ill-Gotten Games, because I wouldn't be doing this without them. And yeah, thanks so much, Eric and Mike.
You're very welcome, man.
Good to see you, man. Great to see you, as always.
Thank you, Darcy.
And I'm sure Eric will put the link in. And
I just put it, but it's too damn long. But I don't ask me why it's so long. As I copied and pasted it from. We'll put a shorter link in the pinned comments below.
I think they add extra stuff out after it so they know where the person came from.
Oh, okay.
But it just has to be STL. If you put in STL miniatures for 3D printing Starhat, or STL files for 3D printing Starhat miniatures in Google, or even Kickstarter STL miniatures, it'll come up, because that's how Kickstarter works. It makes sure that Google knows what's happening.
Well, Bob says he's backed for 121 New Zealand, so.
Nice.
Whoa! Awesome. Thanks so much. And yeah, I'm going to definitely, he's obviously picked some add-ons, so he knows what he wants.
There you go.
I'm going to go, but thanks so much again, and I'll see you soon.
Be good, sir.
Later. That was our buddy Darcy from down under, because he's in New Zealand.
We are an international show now.
Yes, definitely. Oh, yeah.
We need to get. Well, actually, I guess a week from Friday will be European. We should have none other than James Raggy the Fourth. So.
Oh yes, that's not this weekend. That's next.
No,
week.
This weekend is ShareCon.
Okay. Oh, it's ShareCon. Oh, that's right, ShareCon.
Yep.
By the way, I got my ShareCon shirt in from Tom. It was awesome. It's I don't have it around here. I wore it yesterday, so it's probably in the dirty clothes. But yeah, it's great. The shirts look great. So you're gonna have a great time, man. It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, like I said, I missed 2020 because there was none in 2020 due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
In 2021, I missed it due to my car crapping out and having to buy a new one.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yes.
But now, we have the 2021 Subaru Forester, runs like a charm, and it's a pleasure to drive. And we had this discussion, Mike, and you talked about this. When you have a high-end car, long trips don't feel like long trips.
They don't.
They really don't.
It's been amazing since we got the Telluride, man. Oh, the trip back and forth from Arizona. I mean, it's long, and there's not much to look at. But man, the comfort level is awesome. It just makes, when you get older, and you do like a day trip like we do, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. We go down to South Padre Island every year. That's a 9-hour trip. You just feel like you just got kicked into, thrown into a trash can and kicked down the hill. Everything hurts.
Right.
Because you're in one spot, even if you get out and walk around. But boy, you get one of those nice luxury cars, some nice seats, and maybe heated seats or cooled seats, and you just lay back. You're just driving like that. You drive with your one finger. You're just like, yeah, it's great. Yeah. And you have your satellite radio, and it's just awesome. It makes it so that when you stop at the end of the day, you're not just like, I just want to go to bed. I can't handle it.
Right. No, so, it's an enjoyable trip. And that's what I can't believe I told Rach, I go, Rach, our car is nearly a year old now. She's like, no, it's not. I go, yeah, we got it right after ShareCon. The old one started crapping out right before ShareCon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my God, you're right. So I was like, yeah, go figure. So what shall we talk about, Mike? Because they're actually all.
I kind of want to talk about something we were talking about earlier that I just think's funny, and I'm not trying to toot our horn or
us toot our horn.
Not trying to toot our horn or yay team too much, but so we had this week the general gaming media. We're talking about the Polygons out there, the Kotakus,
the Bell of Lost Souls.
Yeah, those guys. Just the general. They suddenly found out that there's this story about WotC suing TSR and Lanasa, and the filed injunction got coverage. The rest of the shit was something in the background, but all of a sudden, and why did it get coverage? Because of the racist and bigoted material that was part of the filing. And let me just say that there is this was the early beta. There is a current beta. That current beta has been I believe David Floor snagged a copy from a legitimate source. I understand the source is not being identified, but the source is legitimate, and it matches up to like 99.5% of the original beta. So that shit was never photoshopped, folks. That shit was what it was. Nobody really thought it was, except for
no. Michael Huffenmail went in and he changed everything and made it into no, he didn't.
So, but the funniest thing is, so I'm reading. So this kind of broke this week on the general media when I was in Arizona, and I've been reading these articles, and so it's like, wow, this guy's getting sued for all this homophobic and racist stuff he's putting in there, but yeah, the funny part is, so I'm reading these. They all get the story wrong because all they did was read a press release and just try to vamp from that. And you and I have been on this story for over a year and a half. I figure it's been a year and a half. and we've been doing broadcasts on. I mean, like I said, not to toot our horn or anything. We've talked about this a long time. So, but the only other outlet I've seen cover with any measure. Well, there's David Floor, and there's some other. There's a couple other broadcasters that
Tom at Tabletop Tap Room has done
Tommy's done a good job.
Done a very good job, but let's.
But I mean, except for World had a really good write-up. Morris got a lot of this is after we've been covering it for a while. Yep. Morris had a really good saying, hey, here's everything's going on. I thought that for once they actually had a really good,
synopsis
article there. But
if these goddamn news sources, publishers had gone to the N World, looked at that first opening post on the thread, listen. And I will freely say this: Morris and I have butted heads over the years. He did the best recap of any site, anywhere. He's kept on top of it. God bless him.
Right.
It ain't easy. And all they had to do was go there, and they would have had 99
all the information they need right there. It's right there.
Everything
they need is right there. And so instead, we get a lot of really uninformed stories and really general stuff, and it just doesn't. Some of the stuff you could tell like they didn't understand why this is, because they're like, wait a second, so WotC used to be TSR,
another article, and it's like, so TSR, which is an inheritor of the original TSR. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yep, I saw that. That was was that the Polygon or another one? I can't remember. They don't know what the very basic, easiest to know fact of this is that all they did was, and I had to go to a Discord page, which will not be named, and somebody was saying, I don't understand what happened here, and they were like, so somebody said something and woke TSR and tried to slap them down. I was like, no. Let me give you the one paragraph thing that happened here. And so I basically had to explain it because they didn't know. They just read this thing, said, okay, so big mean WotC is trying to stomp on this poor little guy who just wanted to write stuff for TSR, and he has Ernie with him, so Ernie's the original TSR and stuff, right? So he was so far behind the curve, I had to bring him up to speed. Then once I showed him all the relative
Mike's having a senior moment. Please stand by.
I'm having a seizure. Once he showed him all the relevant information, they said, "Oh, okay, yeah, that guy's an idiot." It's like exactly. That's the problem with the Polygons and the Kotakus. They don't really. This isn't really their. I mean, they just saw a press release. They got a press release. WotC sued somebody. They read it real quick, didn't understand it, and slapped something out there. So,
well, here's the thing: they got to see. Listen, folks, if you've been following along, I believe July 19th is when this channel said, "Hey, we were forwarded a copy of the Star Frontiers New Genesis Beta playtest, and there's some to prove that it's legit. I'm going to scroll through it." So I didn't Photoshop. This is an actual document, and I learned a lesson from that one. I didn't know people could do a frame by frame and get pages that I wasn't even highlighting. But we talked about it, and it was in one of these new articles. I don't know if it's Tech Raptor. It was one of them. They don't name this channel, but they do link to the video where I shared it. And how did I know that? Because I look at the last my last 48 hours. My most popular video is let's look at an example of it was racist and bigoted tropes from the new Star Frontiers New Genesis beta. It has 4 times the views that my Far West update has from yesterday. So I was like, when I started happening, I was like, where the hell is it coming from? And I was trying to figure out, and it was actually linked. I think it was Tech Raptor because it was actually Tech Raptor was linked to by one of the current articles, and Tech Raptor covered this back in July. and I guess gave me credit. Nobody else is. Most of these places, folks, and it isn't just your I don't want to call them traditional, but your game, like your polygons, like Mike was saying, like your Bell of Lost Souls, they are not very big on actually linking to initial sources.
No.
They're not. Okay, they always want you to think that they are pretty much the initial source, but they don't generally have the details. And this is often why Mike and I will tell you, uh, do your own research, do your own vetting. We try to do it for you. I
Right.
am certainly not going to be perfect. I certainly could do better pinning other links and stuff that we cover. But
Always go to your source, because that's the problem I see. This is just this is just me being on Facebook. I'll see somebody post something that I just know is absolutely untrue or just stupid or whatever.
yes,
And you know what? It takes exactly this long to Google, and you push there, and it says okay that, and you can find the answer in 30 seconds, 2 minutes. Don't let other people do your thinking for you. Go to the source and do it. And the problem is, we live in this world where everything has to be so quick and so fast that people don't even have 1 minute to Google something and find out. Well, I'm going to go to the original source here. I'm going to go to we took a class in when I was in graduate school. One of the best classes I ever took, probably. Basically, it was a class about sources, because this is part of my English degree. And what we did was, the teacher would give us subjects, and he or she, or it was a he, I think he would tell us, go find the original source for this story. And there'd be real famous stories in history, like Davy Crockett died, the Alamo, fighting on the walls and this and that, or just he would find these really famous stories from even farther back in history, 1500s, 1600s. Say, you go find the original source for this story. It was fascinating, because once you went back about 100 years, you found out that it was all fucked up. that nobody listened to what the original source was. They just wanted the best story, whatever the best story was.
right.
And so years later, we found out that Davy Crockett was captured at the end of the Alamo, lined up and shot with all the other survivors. That's what historians generally believe happened, and they base this on letters and diaries and stories from survivors. Because there was a lot of survivors. There was some slaves. There was Mexican servants. There was the wives and the children. So there was a lot written about it afterwards. They know what happened. But you know what? It made a lot better story if Davy Crockett was on that wall, swinging his gun like John Wayne and kicking people off the wall and this and that. So you find that in a lot of cases. Well, that works in everyday life too. When you see a story that's either too good to be true, or doesn't seem to make sense, or just there's something off about it, go to the original source and find out who talked about this first and who wrote about this first.
And modern news, and I'm talking about cable network news, has been very guilty of saying things like, you can't go to the source material. Only we're allowed to read the source material and divulge it to you. Don't you read it?
Sure.
Okay, folks, and not to become political in this, but everybody, I don't care what your political background is, what your beliefs are, what your religion is, do your own research. I watch a lot of political YouTube videos, and I'm mostly apolitical in my attitude. But I watch it from both sides, because I don't trust network news. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh my God, it's a conspiracy. They're selling news. Network news is selling news. They are selling what's going to sell to whoever the corporate sponsor is. That's who they're looking to please. I'd rather go to independent news sources online, left and right, because I might be opinionated, but I find out that they'll tell you, hey, I'm opinionated. All right, well, then good. I know I'm starting curved to one side or the other, and I can work it out. But you got to do your own research, and we have such great tools with the internet, with Google and DuckDuckGo or whatever your preferred search engine is, to do your own research. And as generally speaking, people don't do it because they get lazy and they want their shit handed to them. And
I'm amazed at the people who post opinions based on something they read. They just fire it off because they're so mad. And literally, Eric, they don't do 30 seconds of research to find out that's not true, or it was a different person that actually did that, or it didn't happen when they said it did. I'm just always just amazed that people don't even do the tiniest bit. And we saw this a lot too when Lanos and them first came out with all their stuff going on, and people thought, oh, he's this plucky little guy who's fighting against the big, mean, nasty WotC. I mean, obviously, look, we're the people who basically gave WotC the award of This Week in Gaming Stupid like weeks in a row because these guys just couldn't get out of their own way. So it's not like we're not big WotC fans by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, you should see the coverage that I do about WotC stepping on their private parts. Yeah. I'm trying to keep us monetized. Yeah, okay. I've been losing monetization on.
That's nice. Yeah. By their but I mean they do, and they do this a lot. They still do it, but in this case, they're absolute. Look, if Hitler's fighting Dracula, you got to pick one of the guys to win. You're gonna. That's basically what we have here, right? I mean, well, maybe we should be Hitler. Let's say Frankenstein and Dracula. Frankenstein and Dracula going at it. One of those guys.
Frankenstein to win because Frankenstein's not evil. Frankenstein is just a corporate monster.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So Raven Coast isn't evil; they're just a corporate monster. But TSR,
and we know people that work there. They're great people. We love them, and But sorry, they're a corporation, and they do what corporations do, which is we're going to make a lot of money, and we don't really care about you. We're going to pretend to care about you. We're going to say we have LGBT content, but we really don't, and we're going to say we have diversity, but we fire black people that work for us. I mean, stuff like that. So we're gonna say all this stuff, but in this case, look, they're like I said, they're Frankenstein. Lanos is Dracula. He's out there to suck your blood and leave you dry and dead on the side of the road. So, and then that's the case here. So it doesn't have to be the good guy or bad guy. They can both be guys you don't like. But in this case, the one of them is absolutely just doing something despicable. And it's very obvious they're doing something despicable. They're look. Didn't you get people to pay for that? For that module by Vince, has anybody gotten that yet? No.
I don't believe so. By the way,
no.
Bob,
well, how about the game? How about the
Tokens? The character on South Park.
The South Park, yes.
Yes.
And how about that game? How about the
Dungeon Crawl?
Dungeon Crawl game. Everybody's got their copy of that too, right?
No. That hasn't happened.
No. So not only that, not only has he done everything he's done, being a racist and a homophobe and other weirdness. He can't even deliver. He's going to make up some story. You know what's going to happen, right? He's going to make up a story that because WotC did this injunction, he can't ship anything now. He's had this stuff since January. He's not shipping it because he doesn't want to ship it.
Well, here's my. I'm going to peel a little history here. The Dungeon Crawl board game that released, and I know it released because I got a copy from another source.
Yes, you did. You got rid of the cards. You sold the cards.
I still have cards to send out.
Oh, yeah.
But I am far from perfect. But here's the thing. I know it exists, and we know it was being sold at street fairs or little...
they had these great posts about, look at all these people that are buying our board game. Wow. Which, by the way, I think they're fake. But anyway, they did show copies of the game and say, hey, we sold this.
And they showed a stack of these envelopes or boxes ready to go, ready to ship, but we don't have shipping information because we're old school and we didn't get that when we
computers. What are computers? We don't those crazy boxes that make lights that go beep 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 beep. We don't use those. No.
So here's the thing, and this was a surprise to me. I got reached out to by somebody who actually worked or works with the post office in their shipping and said everything they do, every package that they send is tracked. Mm-hmm. Whatever you send is tracked. This was all sent likely priority mail or media mail, depending on, and it's all tracked. So guess what? They had the tracking information. Why didn't they want to send out any tracking information? Because except for one or two copies on the top, likely there was no tracking information. I don't have that knowledge. I am spitballing. I am making an assumption based on the fact that none of this shipped shit ever shipped.
Right.
It becomes suspicious. Now, there's going to be the naysayers going, well, how do you know that all didn't ship? 'Cause I know that my straw buyer didn't get it, and I also know that my straw buyer was on that data breach because I had the information confirmed. So,
well, not the fact, just the fact that the people, the kind of people that follow NASA, if they were getting their copies, they'd throw that picture up there on social media and say, "Hey, I got my copy of this kick-ass game called Dungeon Crawler. Here's my family playing Dungeon Crawl. Ha ha! We ran into the Tenkar and Gibber, and it was hilarious." Yeah. Nobody's posting that. Nobody's posting any of that because he decided. What he decided to do is take your money, keep the items, and resell them, which is. It's the easiest scam of all time ever. Don't ship it. Just don't ship the stuff. Yeah. And then blame WotC later. We'll blame WotC later that WotC was suing us and so we weren't allowed to sell any of this stuff or get rid of it but they've had it since January. So
yeah. And folks, here's another observation. Okay, this is an observation. There is a parody of Tenkar, the Tenkarian Gibber in the board game. There is a Tenkarp. Not just in the beta of the Star Frontiers and the Genesis that I saw, but I've been told on good authority, it's in the current beta, the printed beta that got shipped out to a handful of people. So, if you're a legitimate publisher, do you spend your time mocking your critics, mocking those that cover you? If you're a legitimate publisher, is that what you're doing? Is that what your effort is going into? No,
probably not.
No, that's not what you're legitimate. So and that becomes an issue too. If you do decide that you're like, oh well, Tenkar, he said nasty things about me, and I think that maybe one or two things he said may not have been 100% accurate. Well, when you decide that you want to take that to the next step, then you have to explain to a court. Well, yeah, the Tenkarian Gibber, isn't it funny? No, that's a joke. It's a joke. It's not. No. I mean, you say that he said, he said bad things about me, and Tenkar. No. Oh, I know. I refer to him in conversations as Tenkar. And it's a creature in the Tarfarton, but I understand. It doesn't. It never did you any good, but you did it because you never really intended to publish any of this stuff. No. So it was your vanity project.
You and I have talked about this. Look, if you read that beta, it comes off as from what in Lanas's own words, what he told people is that he wanted to settle with WotC for like $1 million. I mean, I'm sure he's being hyperbole.
I would hear again. Keep on saying this because I don't want to be. Tenkar said without any I'm going to say I believe my personal belief is that he was looking for six figures, and I think that he felt.
I think he would have been happy with $100,000 or something. Who knows? But I mean, he would have been happy with that. So yeah, I know he was probably being hype, have a lot of hyperbole there. But if that was his case, and I think in his twisted mind, I mean, this is just me, spitballing. I think he thought the more offensive I make this, the more they're going to want to put this under and put a spike in it.
Yeah.
So if I make this really offensive and really ridiculous, so that's why it's as ridiculous as it is. It's because they wanted to make it so offensive that WotC's going to see it and go, "Oh my, I'm going to grab my pearls. I can't believe they said these things." And they're going to write you a check. Let's write you a check right now, sir. Please don't put this out.
And this is the funny part, folks. And Mike said a good point there, right? So if you make something so offensive and you think that if you make it so offensive, Wizards of the Coast is going to pay you out because, A, they can't have this come up right before the anniversary of D&D. And they can't have Ernie Gygax. By the way, Ernie, if you are watching this, all right, I'm going to give you my, again, personal opinion. You are being used as the human shield, as the, we wouldn't sue TSR. You wouldn't sue TSR if my friend Ernie Gygax was in the oven, would you? Oh, we might, Rabbit. We might.
We might, Rabbit. We might.
We might, Rabbit. You wouldn't turn the gas on if my friend Ernie Gygax was in the... All right, Rabbit. You have convinced me. I'll look for other offensive material in Lake Geneva. Maybe Luke. No. No, that's not how it works.
Nope.
They don't care. All right.
No.
Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast. Once they and here's I'm going to say, I believe personally, Wizards of the Coast is the ones that made sure that these news sources got a copy of the injunction. I personally.
Well, I think so too. It looked like it looked to me like a what do you call it? A publicity.
Yeah.
Shot. I mean,
Hello.
I mean, like, yeah.
Hello, definitely. Polygon. I'm an anonymous source. I've got a great article for you about bigotry and racism in gaming. Would you like it? Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, I can't see it going any other way. Why would Wizards of the Coast do that when the assumption on the other side likely was we'll be offensive? We got Ernie as our meat shield, and they'll just pay us money to go away, and we're going to be happy. And I believe the reason is because Wizards of the Coast ain't stupid, and if you pay off one jackass, you're going to be paying off a dozen jackasses. So they were like, "Oh no, we're going to go for blood." And
hey, let's crush this guy like a bug. And the next time anybody even thinks about this, this is the example we've set for if you're going to go against us with an idiotic case, we're going to absolutely just curb stomp you into the next week. And that's yes, obviously. And it didn't hurt to be such an objectionable person too. Oh, okay, because look, if he played this right, he could have had he's the small guy going against the big corporation thing going, but nobody is in his corner because he's just so weird and says crazy stuff and just acts, I mean, it goes back to our original thing we said last year and a half. All he had to do was make TSR a legitimate publisher, publish a few crappy modules written by, I don't think Ernie can write anymore now that I see what he can do. But somebody else.
John Smith with Ernie Gygax Jr.
Or not David Johnson because they would have swastikas in it. But somebody else. It's somebody else to write it. And then just say, look,
breast set enlarged 75% while lactating.
Make it old school.
But yes.
Make it old school, and then just build up a little. Hey, this company's putting out old school stuff. And make it, quote, non-woke. I mean, which, look, nothing back in the day was woke. I mean, just write a module. It's not woke or not woke. It's just whatever you want to do. And then they could have built up a little bit of support. You're like, hey, these guys are really trying to put something out. But then if they'd done that, they wouldn't have pissed off WotC. WotC might never have bothered them. And then they wouldn't get their 6-figure settlement.
Right.
So so this is not about the small tough little guy taking on a big corporation. And that's the problem. They lost any sympathy they would have. So this is just about corporation protecting its reputation and crushing like a bug the person who dared to come out with offensive material.
Well, now, did you see too that with the request for an injunction, that Wizards of the Coast was reserving the right to add further names to the suit?
Yes, I thought that was interesting. I was going to ask you about that.
All right, so now I've talked to some legal minds, and there's two thoughts on it. They can both be right. One thought is that the unindicted co-conspirators, these are the people that are technically allies. This could be Ernie, Michael Yack, David Johnson. These are people that Wizards of the Coast might say, or even Duck, might say things like, hey, we would like to subpoena you as a witness for our side. You don't have to testify, but if you don't, you will wind up testifying as a defendant.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to be a witness for us or a defendant on the TSR side? Interesting thought. Interesting juggle of the... But the other theory, which I found to be just as intriguing, if not more, is that those others are the social media accounts that we believe, and in the case of one or two, we have evidence belong to Justin Lanasa.
Right.
So if they bring that in, very interesting. Like you can Mario Real, AKA, then we'll go. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to see how, and what's really interesting is this is playing out in September. It's not going to play out in 2023 like we all thought. Wizards of the Coast played a
Yeah,
little.
because they're saying, look, this is so offensive and horrible. We can't let this sit for a year.
Yeah.
This guy is absolutely torching our name. So we have to do something now, which, it plays into their, victim complex, which works out perfectly. Because look, I think Lanasa, I think he's used to dealing with people who are, I don't know, maybe not that bright. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I think he thought he was probably playing 3D chess. He's not playing 3D chess. WotC is playing 3D chess.
Yes.
Every move that WotC make is absolutely calculated to give them the maximum benefit and to absolutely, shove this guy under the bus, because the lawyers for WotC are not screwing around. They're going to, I don't know who Lanas is paying $500 a month to for whatever they're doing, or $1,000, whatever he's paying. I don't know who he's paying to, but they are absolutely out of their class in this case. They're absolutely outclassed.
The law firm, this is what I was told. They brought in one of their senior partners whose specialty, this is like their specialty is like presentation and oration. So they want to make this injunction request in 3 weeks from when it was filed in person. So they're going to have their best orator telling it to the judge, okay, which is going to be interesting. But also, apparently, they brought in an LLC veil specialist. In other words, they brought in somebody who specializes in the veil of protection at LLCs and removing that veil. They added that person to the case. So, yeah, this is the point where expenses that you weren't expecting to expend suddenly increase. I mean, this is when we talk about zero sum. This is a negative sum territory. I mean, that's just. And here I'm gonna make a statement on behalf of TSR. Believe it or not, this is part of the issues with our civil system, is that if you have the larger pocketbook, if you have the larger wallet, the deeper pockets, you have a great advantage in these situations, because you can, in this case, add a new action that's going to cost your opponent potentially tens of thousands of dollars to respond to. And for you, that's a drop in the bucket, because you count your profits in probably billions of dollars, whereas somebody else is excited because they sold, 72 copies of a module. That's, it really is David and Goliath. It doesn't mean that David is in the right, but it is that lopsided. It really is.
No, I mean, what is there to add to that? Except, that they could have played this case a lot differently, and they could have got sympathy from people, and they, if the people in charge weren't just such asshats, but he was trying to ride a wave. He was trying to ride a wave. I guess a conservative, but not even conservative.
Was there ever really
super alt-right, alt-right to the utmost? I don't even know anybody that alt-right. I know conservative people. I don't even know anybody that far to the right. I know far-right people that don't even like Lanasa because he's too off the off the rails. So he was trying to appeal to somebody, maybe hoping that they would just say, "Yeah, man, this." Because remember, he got some play with a few conservative kind of YouTube channels, and they said, "Yeah, man, this poor guy is getting hammered by WotC." And the problem is, it played for a little while, but then once you saw what he was saying, you're like, "Yeah, that's the stuff he's saying is just over the top. It's too far. It's way too far." So yeah, we can't even support this. So I think he was trying to get that groove and try to get in that groove and maybe get some money and have some support. Maybe start rolling along. People were like, "Yeah, this guy's really he's working for us, man. He's trying to help us." It never materialized because I just don't think he's that smart. Or he needed like what do they call it, like a publicity guy, or he needed some kind of a marketing genius to help him out with this because he didn't do a very good job.
No, he did not. And
maybe the right kind of marketing guy could have told him what to do and what to say, and said, "Hey, this is what you need to do this. Scrub all this off the internet. Stop doing this.
Yeah,
fire David Johnson.
Fight with people on Facebook.
Stop firing neo-Nazis. And we'll make this look. We'll make this look good." But they couldn't do that.
No, I mean, part of it is the fight back personality, and I understand it. But even with that, you have to realize when you're in the right and when you're potentially in the wrong. I listen. I think the closest thing that we saw from TSR was when Justin did his Darlene video, which which kind of initially came off like, we understand and we support you, and it was, if that is where it had ended, I think that it would have been a lot better off for all parties involved. But then it turned into the and we will do everything in our power not to involve you in our legal action against Wizards of the Coast, which if you've experienced any amount of real life anything, that statement is pretty much we're going to involve you if you don't. So that's where it went. If he had stopped that video earlier, it would have been worlds of difference. But that, you can't threaten people like Darlene in this community, and you're going to get people that you thought were your allies going, how can you threaten this woman? I mean, so it really is jumping the shark. Well, wonder if Justin's father will be called as a character witness. Well, the only issue with that is that I don't know if his father has known him all that long to be a character witness. Him and Justin found each other in the last couple of years, and that's been documented. I'm not making any accusations of this. It's a fact. And Justin's father seems to be a very loyal father. They seem to have very similar public opinions about politics and life in general. And, so be it. But I don't know how much of a character witness he can be, because my dealing with Justin's father is that he didn't have that much character. So I don't know.
Well, I think it's volumes of what's going to happen is that all of Justin's allies are pretty much radio silence at this point. Is David Johnson still? Is he still in the United States?
Listen, I have 10 course millions assigned to monitor all. Dave Johnson has been off the radar. Michael Yak has been off the radar.
Yeah, those guys go into witness protection or something. My God,
yeah. I mean, Ernie Gygax. You don't hear Ernie, except for the stupidity of him actually agreeing to be interviewed by Tom Veralt, and Tom sat in that for a couple of months.
By the way, great interview by Tom. That was. I thought I mean, the subject matter. Yeah, I feel bad, but I mean, he did a good job. Look, you just let the person talk and let them talk about what they, and then you just go from there. Let them say what they're going to say, and that's how you learn stuff, right? You learn what you need to learn from that.
And I'm going to comment too on that, because I've seen criticism, angry criticism at Tom for not. You should have nailed Ernie. You should have listen. Folks, I know you all enjoy watching like Leslie Stahl in 60 Minutes or whatever you're watching. That is not how an investigator does an interview.
No, it's not.
You don't go for those gotcha moments. Gotcha moments get you nothing.
You let them hang themselves. You let them talk, and they tell you things that maybe they didn't want to hear. Maybe shouldn't have been heard.
Right.
That's exactly how you do it.
When you confront them and accuse them, you know what they do? They shut down.
Yeah, they clam up.
That's all of you. So
I want my lawyer. and so then that's it. You don't,
you know. So I personally reached out to Tom. I told him I thought he did a great job. He did a great job with that because he and again, if you watch like the first 48 or any of those shows that deal with interrogation of suspects or prisoners, they're buying these people sodas. You need coffee. It's a relaxed atmosphere generally. That you let them talk. You don't get in their face. You might, and it might make for good TV. It does not make for a good interview. Greg, and it's a case study on how not to market. I'm sure there'll be a doctoral thesis or two out of this. Yeah, but it won't be for me. I'm not going back to school at my age, so no, I'm done. I'd be totally great if I went back to school. Holy crap. And Mike, just for you, I actually took the blade to my face the other day.
I noticed that. I was going to say, man, you're styling it today. It usually look like a hobo, like you just rolled in.
Yeah, no. I was like, you know what? I was trying with that, like the beard. There were a few comments like, "Oh, Tenkar looks more distinguished with the beard." I was like, "No, I look a bit more homeless with the beard." And I like to pass the reaction checks with my wife, Rach, and I can do that with the goatee. So this
wife's like clean shaven guys usually. My wife's the same way. Till I shave, she pays me very little attention, and when I shave, yeah, the attention. So
and she's like, ah. So, but yeah, the goatee. I've had this on now for over 6 years. It's probably staying, but I'll try to keep the record.
You know, I had the hair going with the sides for the last 7 years, and I decided this year I was tired of dealing with it. I shaved it off, and I'm like, I don't even remember it was just like 6 months ago. I don't remember what I look like with hair on the side of my face, but yeah, my wife likes it much better. Like she goes, I forgot how much I like that. So so I think I'm back to this forever now. Yeah. I look like every other fat white guy with a goatee now. So
yeah, go figure. I mean, and it's funny thing is the reason why I let it grow in too is like using the electric razor to get right down to the skin is a pain in the ass. I prefer a blade, but Rach was very panicky. She's like, "You're on blood thinners. I don't want you to cut your face, and then you're gonna bleed out." And I was like, "All right." So I got a new shaving kit, and she's like, "You're really gonna do it?" I'm like, "I'm really gonna do it." And she's like, "You didn't nick yourself." I'm like, "Didn't nick myself."
Maybe I don't think I've nicked myself in 30 years. But I maybe razors aren't as sharp as they used to be. I don't know.
I think they are. But now you have like 17 razors and one blade. Like, you know, it's like 17 blades and one razor. So it's like, well, all right. It's kind of hard to nick you when there's like nothing left to cut because you've already cut it with the first 7 blades. But yeah, you know, I was like, I guess I gotta keep this. I'll have to shave I guess I'll shave the morning of Friday when we head up to ShireCon.
Oh, so let's talk about ShireCon a little bit. So this is weekend, ShireCon weekend. This is Tom Wilson's baby. We talked to Tom last week, and it looks like it's going to be a blast. I really wish I could come. It looks super fun. So tell me your schedule. What's gonna how is it going to be? Your wake up Thursday? You gonna head out there Thursday or Friday?
We're heading out there Friday. We have a bed and breakfast in town. Or at least it's so. Okay. Actually, I don't even know if there's breakfast included, but it's a bed, and it's one of those places where like you gotta look at your room carefully. Like, does it have a solo bathroom, or am I sharing this with the neighboring room? I've
never done that. Yep.
I am not sharing with the neighboring room. That ain't happening. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go up there.
That's why they made sinks. Come on, man. Don't act like you haven't peed in a sink before. We all have. Come on.
No, I'm not saying I haven't, but you know, Rach won't be happy, and you can't poop.
Yeah, my wife. I don't think I've done it in front of my wife, but it's happened.
Oh man, no. But so we get up there Friday, so we're probably going to leave New York around 12, 1 o'clock. Get up there around between 3 and 4. And then Rach was like, "Oh, they suggest like if you want dinner, they serve dinner from 5 to 10, and they suggest reservations." And she's like, "But we don't know if we're going to be hanging with people because like Tom and Tammy Veralt are going to be going up on Thursday, and probably a few other more local people that are going to be up there." So it's like, all right, we'll hold off and making reservations. We can always make them right after we step into the place, I guess. But I dug out my larger collapsible coolers. We have 2 coolers. I'm going to bring probably like a 12-pack of Mick Ultra, bring a little whiskey, bring soda, bring hop tea for H. We will have a liquor in the trunk, so I'll try to park in the shade. I got a lot of frozen cooler things for the cooler, so we'll see. But
So I'm liking this so far.
yeah, no, you gotta be prepped. So when we're leaving on Sunday, so I can actually get quasi intox on Saturday and still survive the ride home.
Nice.
So I'm running a game at the 9 o'clock slot, so it's a 3-hour slot, and then I'm in a game at the 1 o'clock slot. That is, it's the Great Cthulhu Charlie Brown, which when I signed up for it, I thought it was a Cthulhu game. It's actually a 5e game with a Cthulhu theme, so that's fine. Rachel and I will have fun. It'll be I haven't played 5e, so
Oh,
I might become a convert there, Michael. I might all of a sudden say,
no. I
no.
mean, you'll have fun, but yeah, you'll come back to the way things should be. So,
But I believe Saturday morning, Joe the lawyer will arrive with Rob Conley and Matt Jackson because they're staying at Casa de Joe.
1 bed or 2 beds? King bed? Chair?
I believe it's 2 beds and a lounge chair. So
King bed. Okay, yeah, that's
I
nice.
think Rob gets the lounge chair. Good night, Fugly.
Rob gets a lounge chair. Come on, guys. He's an old man. Take care of this man. This guy's a treasure. Give him the freaking bed. Good Lord.
You know.
Give this man the bed. Oh, those bastards. I had some friends that went to Gen Con one year, and they did the thing where like 7 people were in a room with like 2 queen beds or something.
Oh my God, yeah.
So like some of them were like one guy slept in a chair, like a chair, not like a lounge chair, like a chair, like you just get a chair. He slept in that the whole Gen Con. And he said he was happy to get that because everybody else that didn't get a bed slept on the floor. You know, because they didn't have any mattresses. This is before air mattresses. This is before futons or whatever. So they all slept on the floor. And he actually just got a chair. And I'm like, dude, what did your legs feel like after 4 days? Because, you know, part of the thing about sleeping is your leg, all day you're standing up, all your blood's going down to your legs. If you sleep in a chair, your legs are still pointing down. He's like, well, we were young, man. I didn't even think I was like 25. And I was like, if I did that now, I would get a blood clot and my legs would fall off.
Basically,
you have to elevate your legs. Come on, gosh.
True story. When I was in my early years of college, I dated a girl who was a bit of an activist, and she was an active member of NYPIRG, the New York Public Interest Research Group, and read things like The Nation and all that stuff at the time. So there was some. I don't remember what it was a protest for. Maybe it was tuition. So there was a protest at Albany, at State University up in Albany, and I was going to Queens College, City College in New York City. So they had a bus to send us up there, and they gave us like dorm rooms, but it was I think it was 6 or 8 people to a fucking dorm room. So we got to share a twin cot. There was one guy who went up solo. He got to sleep in the tub. He was given a blanket and a pillow, and he slept in the tub, which meant you had to take a piss for a shit.
That's not horrible, but yeah, when somebody comes to use the restroom, then it's horrible. It's absolutely
so
gross. Yeah, that's gross. Then when somebody comes in to just dump a gigantic load in that toilet, you're like, oh my God, you're right there. You can't go anywhere.
Please, courtesy flush.
Yeah, that's bad. But yeah, I've slept in a bathroom before under weird. So I did the same. I think Texas OU weekend, we had something going on in a hotel in Dallas, and there was like 9 of us in a room, and I had the bright idea to use the bathroom or to sleep in the bathtub. And but I locked the bathroom door. I wouldn't let him in the bath.
Oh, what
He
an
wouldn't
ass.
come in. I let the girls come in, which was pervy, but I was like, I don't know, 21. So,
Okay.
but but no, that's sometimes you just when you're younger, that's not a big deal. But when you get older, man, I have to have a bed now. Sorry, I can do if you give me a really. So when I was at Zach's, he has this like $2,000 or $1,200. I'm sorry, $1,200 lounge chair that
Right.
they got. And it's just one of those ones, just like you sit in there, like, oh my god, I'm in my mother's bosom, and it's incredible. And I took a nap in that chair. And it was wonderful, but your legs go up. I was almost laying parallel.
Right.
It was nice and soft, but yeah, anything other than that or a bed, I'm out. I am not going to do it. And sometimes not even a bed. Sometimes nowadays, if the bed isn't exactly the way I like it, I mean, I stayed in a hotel before where I tossed and turned all night because the bed was either too soft or too hard. Not just right. It was just too, so I couldn't do the 8 people to a room anymore, 9 people to a room. It just, that's out.
Yeah, it's a hard tap out. So it's gonna be a fun weekend. I mean,
No, it sounds great. So you have, so you'll be there Friday,
and leave Sunday
even though it's
morning.
not necessarily official gaming Friday, but you'll be there Friday and Saturday.
Right. Friday night there's gonna be like board gaming going on or whatever. Maybe
so there's no show tomorrow this Friday.
No show tomorrow.
Why don't you have a live show? What is wrong with you? I do live. You can do live.
I can't do live on a Friday. Well, because first of all, I don't know the venue, and secondly, I'm sure I'm going to be socializing. So yeah, no. But
sure.
Glenn and I are going to do. Was it the? All right. So this would have been. All right. Now I got to look at my watch. This would have been the 3rd. So we're going to do the 5th. Normally I would take off the 5th Friday. That's the 31st. We're going to have or the 30th, whatever, the last day of the month. We're going to be doing a show that last Friday, and then we'll come back the following week. So we'll have back-to-backs. And Gamers Health on Saturday might just be a series of interviews with people. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be live. We'll have to play that one by ear. Back to normal schedule. Now, no game hole for us this year, so we're thinking of doing Vegas in October, November.
Viva loss. Oh yes, interesting.
So we shall see.
Well, I should. I'm hitting. As I look at the calendar behind me,
Long Con.
Well, no. Before Long Con, we got Texas Lone Star Game Expo, which is a nice convention conference. A couple of guys that go to North Texas. It's over in Grapevine Convention Center. That's 3 weeks from now, 2-3 weeks. Then I'll have Game Hole. I'll be going to Game Hole end of October, and then I'm going to do my best to hit Long Con. I didn't want to go. I went last year. It requires a little bit of me having to get on a plane and fly, which I hate. But everybody I know is going this year. It's going to be the most incredible experience. And by the way, we're going to have the Long Con guys on in October. They couldn't make it. They could make it today, or they could make it like first week in October. And so today we couldn't get them on today, but we'll have them. And those guys are Eddie and Matt are great. They're fun. We'll have a great time. But that'll be in a few weeks. I think October 14th is the day we're going to have them. I think that's second week in the October. But
I'd like
so I've got quite a few. We've got quite a few cons coming up in the next few weeks. That's the way it always is. The end of the year, they always pile up to the fall, and you got to hit all these cons with all this other stuff. All these holidays going on, things going on. You're like, dang it, I don't have. Why did all these cons happen in the spring? Which I guess they sort of do because you have Total Con, you have Gary Con, you have
Total Con's not the spring though. Total Con's February. So
yeah, you got Chaosium Con now. That's the new guy.
That's the new hip con to go to. Might have to check that one out.
I looked into driving to Chaosium Con. It's not horrible. My only issue is that it's 2 9-hour days, which is that's a little beyond my comfort level to
right.
Ann Arbor, hold on, I'm gonna check it real quick. But I think Ann Arbor here to Ann Arbor is 2 12-hour. I got to stop in Nashville, and even though I love driving the car, it was just still wear on it. Yeah, it's 2 9-hour days. So probably a little bit more than that, to be honest with you, because you figure in stops and stuff, and that might be a little out of my comfort zone. So I may just be sticking with, game hole, Gary Con, stuff like that. Yeah.
Climbing that mountain. What time on Saturday will you be mixing with the crowd, Eric? Will you have a designated table to receive people at?
Oh my
designated
God!
Table is whatever side tables wind up being available. And wherever I can probably bring my cooler from the car to my table.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm running a game for the morning session, and I'm playing a game in the afternoon session. So from 12 to 1, probably free. And I guess the afternoon session ends at 4 or 4:30. We're staying in town. We're not leaving to the next morning. So,
by the way, I sent you some stuff, courtesy of Tom. Tom will have some Swords of Wizardry light rules for you and some other stuff.
He confirmed that for me earlier today. Yep. So yes,
so awesome. I sent you some goodies, so you'll be able to pass those out, do whatever with them. So,
woo-hoo. So it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I last year was very disappointing when I couldn't go, but I was like, when your car makes funny noises and bad smells above 30 miles per hour because the exhaust is kicking in, you're like, long.
You did the right thing. Yeah, you never know what might be going on there. Yeah, you gotta.
And if my parents had been home, I might have been able to swap cars, but they weren't. They were in the Poconos. They weren't coming home until that Saturday to watch my animals. So I was like, fuck. So.
Well, it's better. I mean, you never, it's better that happened than the alternative, which is to break down somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
That would have been not fun. And it's like, oh yeah, I can let me get an Uber to a convention, and then need a.
Let me spend $140 to go to this convention with my Uber. Yeah, that's a tough
one. But I wound up eating the cost of the hotel anyway, and also that or bed and breakfast, they're expensive. My mother blew her mind and said, "But yeah, we're paying like I don't know, a little over $500 for the 2 nights." She's like, "Oh my god!"
I'm like, yeah, that's oh.
But I go,
did you have to eat that money? Did they refund you anything?
No, I ate it last.
Oh man, that sucks.
Because I was trying to make it work and up until the last minute, and I was like, all right. So I think Levi told me that he was at the same place, and they actually saw out my name on the door for the one room. I was like, well, at least it was reserved for me. Okay.
You should have told somebody that was showing up that they should have given your room away a surprise. Okay, as a prize, or as a raffle prize, you could win Tenkar's room, Tenkar's bed and breakfast room, and you can't for the night because it's just sitting there empty. Come on down.
Well, last year was just bad. Last year, like Game Hall, we had to cancel for too afterwards because of Rach getting a medical appointment.
Right? Yeah,
we had an appointment for her that was. You take the appointment or you don't get one for 6 months, and she needed the appointment. So
I remember that,
I got the hotel money back, but I think I ate the airfare because my seats were not refundable. So
there's let me tell you a secret. If most hotels, this is somebody told me this, and it works. So if you have a reservation, usually you can cancel up to like 24 hours. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes sometimes they make you cancel earlier, but most of the time it's usually 24 hours. It could be 48 hours, 30, whatever. What you can do, and I've done this before, it works, is if you can't get in the time limit, you call up the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You tell them that you still want the hotel room, you just want to change the date. And say like a week ahead, like so let's say it's a Friday, and you figured out Friday morning you figured out you can't go, and so it's within 24 hours. I still have to pay for the hotel. You call them up and say I'd like to come in next Friday. I got my Fridays mixed up. They switch the reservation for you. You wait about 3 or 4 days, call back and cancel the reservation. It works And I'll tell you how I know it works, because I had to do this a few years ago. We went and visited my wife's family in Kansas City, saw a Chiefs game where I had made a reservation for a city in Kansas for a hotel. We get to that city. Turns out there's a city by the exact same name like in Delaware. And so I had made it for the wrong city. So I ended up calling up the hotel in Delaware, which I was never planning to stay at, and say, I just wanted I'm not going to be in time for my reservation. I just need to transfer it up to like next week, if that's okay. And they said, sure, no problem. And so I waited like 3 or 4 days and called up, got a different person, and said, yeah, I need to cancel that reservation. It will absolutely work. I'm telling you, it might not always work, but it's worked every time I've done it or I've heard somebody do it. So
see, folks,
don't just eat that money.
Life hacks. Life hacks.
Exactly. Call them up, reserve it a week later, and then you should be good. Because the way they see it is, they don't want to cancel because they don't want to give your money back. If you just transfer the date, they're not giving your money back. So, okay, we're not giving your money back. Okay. But then when you call back 3 days later and say, I'm going to cancel, then you get your money back. So
there you go.
It works. But, I guess they wouldn't have to refund your money if they were mean about it, but,
Yeah, mean. Yeah,
I've had that happen where I've had a reserved room and we've had to cancel within 24 hours or something. And like, oh, great. We're going to lose our. Actually, I think it was a Marriott property because I'm a Marriott honors member or whatever. I think I've called up a Marriott before. They just went ahead and refunded me, which I thought was really nice. They're like, yeah, it was within 24 hours. I said, look, I'm not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, no problem. Well, we'll just refund you. Like, oh, that's nice.
All right. So membership does have its privilege.
Well, and then, by the way, another life hack too. If you're going to a convention and the convention is sold out, which they'll usually always sell out, what happens is because of cancellation, and especially if, let's say you're doing GaryCon. GaryCon's next year, and you make a reservation now. As a lot of people do, things come up, right? People die, you get sick, people move, you run into money trouble. Just call the hotel up and it doesn't always work, but you can put yourself on a waiting list, or just starting a week before the convention, start calling them and asking for a reservation, because a lot of people cancel. More people than you think cancel because of things going. I know North Texas, we only have about 500 people. We've had years we've had 50 or 60 people cancel. So they call up the hotel and say we can't come. So I'm sure a bigger convention like Game Hole or GaryCon or something like that. Just if you can't get a reservation when the time is to make reservations, just start calling about a week beforehand. Call every day. Just call in the morning and say, hey, do you have your reservations open? And if they're really nice, they'll take your number and call you back. And if not, just keep calling them every day. I know a lot of people that have gotten to GameCon that way, because GaryCon it fills up notoriously fast. Yes. GameHole or GaryCon fills up within an hour, 30 minutes. I mean, it's just like boom, it's full. So if you don't get it then, just keep calling them up and then the other thing is if they don't take lists, and some don't, when a room becomes available, it just becomes available, just sits there until somebody takes it. So sometimes you don't even know. I've had people do that before. They just check in every day online and they just room available, click, and they get the room real quick because it just came available. So
wow,
these life hacks will help you folks if you have. These are convention life hacks. Now this doesn't work in a place like Gen Con, because Gen Con is too big and they have all kinds of things going on. You're not going to probably get a room at Gen Con doing this, but
no, Gen Con is a whole other world.
Gen Con's terrible. The 2 years I went, the 2 times I went to Gen Con, we got into the whatever they call it, and we lucked out. We got rooms pretty decent rooms. One time we got one right across caddy corner across the street. The other time about a block away. So I've been pretty lucky with that. But I've heard of people getting really unlucky with that room. It's just like a room raffle. You don't know where you're going to get in that thing, and it's just awful. It's gotten worse and worse. Unless you have a lot of money and can just afford to buy something close by, it's a mess.
I don't know, Mike. It's almost the witching hour.
Yes, it is. We can end early. There's nothing that says we have to keep talking for another hour.
Early,
or 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
We need that 2 hour mark.
All right. What else we got? So we got ShireCon. We covered Lanasa. Anything? What else we got going on?
I think we covered.
Let me show you something I bought the other day. Oh, let's talk about this. This is funny. So I was at Reapercon. I decided that I would get this at Reapercon.
Oh, wow.
Spelljammer box set in the
You
shrink.
haven't opened it yet.
Yeah, and I got 20% off, 10% off. It's usually it says right here $70. So I got it for, I don't know, I can't remember. It was cheaper. Guess you know why? You know why I bought this?
Why?
Because this is now the official banned version of Spelljammer.
Oh, that's right.
And I figured I would be able to sell this someday since it's not even open, as we're never going to publish that version of Spelljammer ever again. And you know why, don't you? Because that was the Yazirian / Hadazee 8 people. Oh my God, they're so racist because they're slaves. And so I went ahead and bought it just for that, because I thought, well, it's a discount. It's still wrapped up. I'll wait a few years. I always look at the long game when it comes to collectibles, right? I'll wait 5-10 years, and that will be because they've already stated they will no longer publish it without corrections, and the online PDF will immediately be corrected.
Right.
And this is because WotC included what they consider racist content, yet they very cowardly tried to throw it back on the designers who originally created Star Frontiers, one of whom was Steve Winter, who went online and basically said this was not us.
Yeah.
This is
not my shit. Thank you.
It's not. Then Star Frontiers, the Yazirian, who are the ape creatures that fly, they were written as a player character race, and so they stayed that way until D&D 2nd edition and Spelljammer came out. Then they were called the Hadazee, which is basically the Yazirian, the same thing. They were given a full page in the Spelljammer monster book with no mention of being slaves at all.
Right. It
wasn't until WotC came out with their version they decided to make them slaves. Which okay. I mean, it's an interesting origin, I guess, but it didn't have to be that way. And then when they saw that they got backlash, because if you remember, WotC has a no more slaves or slavers policy on anything. You can't even have them as bad guys anymore, right?
Well, pretty much.
That's why you can't have slaves, you can't have slavers, whatever. When they got backlash, they said, well, it was those guys back in 1982 that they created the race.
They created the race, but they didn't create the slavery aspect, right?
No, they didn't. But they left that part out. They just said, yeah, we're trying to correct all the past things that these really evil people back in the 80s did. So this is one of the things we had to change.
Right. We had to add in slavery because they left it out, and we can't complain about it if we don't put it in because they admitted it back when
they very weasel worded it. They weasel worded it to where they didn't exactly say that, but that's what they
hinted at. They hinted at it.
They hinted that these older guys created this terribly racist thing, but people immediately began posting up on social media pictures of all the appearances of the Yazirians and how slavery was never mentioned in any of the descriptions. And by the way, until even I think there was a 3rd edition hack of it even for Dungeon Magazine. So nobody ever mentioned this until WotC. So that they can't. They trip over their own feet. Those guys. They can't even do their own stuff without
unforced fouls. How do you? This is not this.
I mean, they could have done with this in a number of ways. They could have said, you know what, we screwed up. We're sorry. This is our mistake. We said we weren't going to include slavery. We did. Sorry about that. They could have just said, or they could have said, well, they were slaves, but they fought against who enslaved them. And isn't that an inspiring story? These people were slaves, and then they fought back against the wizard that enslaved them, and they got their freedom. So, end of story. We're not going to talk about this anymore. That they've overcome. I mean, there's a million things they could have done, except to try to point the finger back at the older, at older people, the older people in the hobby, who I guess they don't care about anymore. And hey, there's my name. Did you just do that? That's awesome. Oh, it's off.
Good, Mike is a mentor. A mentor.
I learned something every day. You're not learning exactly the right things with me, but you do learn. That's true. You learn something. So.
Close enough.
So that was one of my purchases. That was one of my nice purchases. I got that. Let me show you my other. Well, since we're here, let me show you my other purchase. That for a second. I'll be right back. So I thought that I would splurge on myself a little while because I deserve it. I deserve to be splurged on as well. So Ben Burns had these dice holders.
Oh, nice.
They are sculpted by Diesel LaForce, who signed them.
Oh shit! All right.
He is an excellent sculptor. You've seen this, the trophies for the Gladiator, the trophies for the chariot racing. He's an excellent sculptor. But so now I've got a really, really nice dice holder here instead of the old jewelry case of my mom's from 1975 or whatever.
Oh, I use a glass jar of Jelly Bellies from I don't know, when I was working at a department store in the candy department back in the early 90s. So I got my Jelly Belly. If
you see Diesel at a convention, check his sculpts out. They're just awesome. Beautiful. And this is I just think he's as good at or sculptors. He's a cartographer. So
yeah.
But now I got to worry about cracking or breaking it, so I'm overly protective of it, of course. So.
Not allowed, Mike. Not allowed.
That's pretty much all. Reapercon is pretty much a miniature convention, although there were a few RPG dealers there. Oh, I did get. I got one other thing. This is the only thing I got. So I was selling. These were. Remember the old city books?
Yes, awesome stuff.
These were signed by Janelle, so I went ahead and bought them.
That's Flying Buffalo.
She was singing there. So I have these, but I don't have these signed by Janelle. I thought I'd just go ahead and get them since these were signed by Janelle, so it was kind of cool. And that was it. I didn't spend money on myself except for that. So
there you go. Well, like I said, I got my con this weekend. I planned on bringing some stuff to unload, but I got to reach out to Joe Block and make sure he still wants my Ogre Kickstarter box. That's just too much.
Is that the big giant one or
yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's. You know what? I hope you're getting a good price for that. Those things will never be published again. Those were really nice. The boxes were wonderful.
It's just too much space, man. Just too much.
It is. They take up too much. Unless you're going to play a lot, they're really. It's an aspirational purchase.
Yeah, that's what it was. All right, so I think we'll wrap this then.
All right, we're hitting 2 hours now. Yeah. 2 hours.
Folks, I will be at ShireCon this weekend. I arrive in Falls Village on Friday, leave on Sunday. So if you're there Friday in the evening, we'll be hanging out with Tom. We'll be there Saturday. I am trying to bring some adult and non-adult beverages. I'm not saying I'm going to supply it to everybody, but if you're parched, and I have, I'm more than happy to share. Other than that, Bad Mike, your next convention is which?
I'm going to Lone Star Game Expo. We'll talk about it as we get closer to the end of the month, but it's a nice little con, about 500 people, put on by local guys here in DFW. So we'll talk about that next few weeks. And
all right, sounds good.
I got my coffee account. If anybody wants to donate, it's Bad Mike Coffee. I don't know, something.
We'll put up a link later on.
You don't have to give me any money right now. I got no need for money right now. But if I do another road trip, I'll next time I do a road trip, I'll throw that up there again, and we'll do some live broadcast from the car. But that's all I got going. But yeah, I'm and I don't think we need our guest schedule for a while. We need to get on the guest booking here.
We might find one. You never know.
We had 6 weeks of guests booked. You know that this is our six week of guests. That's awesome.
We're organized. What the hell?
Maybe we'll just talk about something. Maybe we'll just talk about shit next week like we used to do all the time. So you never know. We may just talk.
It could be. What's your show about? Like Seinfeld, we're a show about absolutely nothing and everything.
Nothing. We'll have a great time at ShireCon. That sounds like a blast, man. See everybody there.
Looking forward to
it. Broadcasting live there. I'm going to miss not being able to see everybody there while you guys are doing your thing.
We'll make sure we capture some of the personalities. Folks, we're still in the midst of the world of the endemic. Use your common sense. If you want me to say more than that, go fuck yourself. I'm not saying more than that. All right. I know my critics. He's not saying that. Do your own research right now and see what the CDC is actually saying. Because
Dr. Fauci said cloth masks don't work, and he said it again yesterday too.
8 mice.
Just telling you. Just saying it.
By the way, the new booster tested on. Hold on, 8 mice. 8 mice.
At the
And you
same
can't
time? Oh.
Yeah, I guess, and you can't see the results. They won't.
Yeah.
And by the way, I got that from liberal media, folks. If anybody goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, one of those."
Yeah, I'm going to
Folks.
wait a little bit.
Yeah, I might wait. Folks, be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. I will be back again tomorrow with some, I don't know, random piece of shite. No live stream this Friday. We will have something con related from ShireCon on Saturday. Whether it will be live at 8 o'clock, God only knows.
Ooh, okay, Saturday might be the tune-in date, it sounds like. Yes.
Might be.
Yeah.
All right, folks. On that note.
All right, later. Later, everyone.
God bless.
Thank
Roll
you
those
for
dice, roll them well.
watching. Subscribe.